everybody, and welcome to the Arrow of Time and a Half. My name is Matt, and over here with me, Skyping in, is...
Claudine Harper.
Claudine Harper. It's
Hello.
been a while. It's been too long. Actually, it's been so long since we've had any kind of a podcast. I think actually there's still one that we recorded that never got edited.
What, that we recorded or that you guys recorded?
That we over here recorded. I think I did one with Gabe, and it just hasn't been chopped up and put out there yet. So I want to do it, but then there's part of me that is like, the topic that we were talking about is so dated now. It was, I think it might have been something like, are they going to have a companion, or who do you think that they might use? And it's like something that we all know. So I don't know how interesting that would be for everybody to listen to. I think I might like bridge it as something like, hey, this is what we thought back in this time. But
a bit like time travel then. So yeah, it could work.
Listen to these guys in the past try to speculate about what we already know to be true. So who knows? It should be. It'll be a fun morsel in this time of not talking about Doctor Who. They're not watching Doctor Who because it's not on until Christmas.
Yeah, it will be quite a long time till the proper series starts as well, longer than we usually wait.
Yeah.
Because I think they're trying to get it back on track to what it was quite a few years ago. Yeah.
You mean like in the RTD days of...
Yeah, and even I think the first series of Matt Smith, when it started here in Easter. And I think they're trying to do that again.
Yes, I really like that. I mean, it just gave you a very good, clear start and end. Like, oh, okay, Easter's coming. We know that we're going to get some new episodes, and that's kind of a big celebration. And then going all the way through to, I don't know, what
it's like summertime.
Summertime, I think.
Yeah. I think it ends when the kids are off school, kind of middle of that. Yeah. So it got messed up a lot, and now they're just going back to what they did before.
Yeah.
It's a good thing, but it means we've had a drought.
Oh, there's a bit of a drought. Yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting when all that comes out. And of course, we'll see what happens in 2017.
Yeah.
And then 2018 with Chris Carter. No.
Chris Carter.
Yes.
Oh, you mean Chris Thingy?
Chris Thingy. Yeah. I've forgotten his name.
Oh God, so have I.
Let's just say Chris Carter. It's going to be the X-Files.
We don't want that.
Don't
let him know anything.
Patrick back. Robert Patrick is the Doctor.
Now that I've never thought about that. That would be interesting.
Because
he's quite old. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've had old doctors before. How old is Robert Patrick? Do you think?
Well, I guess he looks older than he actually is. I think he is 57.
57. He's probably around the age of our current doctor.
Yeah.
Mr. Capaldi.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, maybe he still smokes, but he hasn't aged well. Although I know Capaldi has a few lines on him, but it just doesn't seem so bad. But yeah, well, he's American anyway, so an American doctor.
Yeah. Well, if they made an American Doctor Who, Chris Carter would be the person to make it. No, I don't know. I think that he would be too steeped in X-Files land.
Yeah, he always is, and he can't even do that one very well, I'm afraid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, anyways, aside from
Anyway,
that,
yeah.
it's gonna come to me, and I feel like such a fool right now, not remembering the who's
Shall I
taking.
look it up?
But yes, if you'd like to look it up, just so we can like correct ourselves for the person who's listening.
Chibnall. Is it
Chibnall, Chris
Chibnall?
Chibnall. How could I forget?
We'll never forget now.
We'll never forget. It'll be ingrained. Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Chris
Good.
Chibnall.
Chris Chibnall.
Right. Now we're on track.
Back on track, taking it on. Amazing stuff. Yeah, so one thing that I mean I feel like we're known for is for being a light and fun podcast. So we always try to like keep that within the realms of things, the stuff that we talk about, and try not to get too heavy. However, recently there's been recent things that I feel have kind of affected things. I feel like having like a podcast that is so dedicated to what's going on in British culture, to kind of ignore the fact that there's some kind of heavy things going on right now, especially you, who's an avid listener and participant in this podcast, Claudine, who you're kind of in the front lines of it right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you messaged me because you knew I was upset about the current political crisis that's going on with the EU referendum.
Yes.
And it reminded me as to how we actually became friends. And I thought, well, that's just because of Doctor Who. And then I remembered Doctor Who. I was so angry and upset and frustrated. And by remembering Doctor Who, I thought, hey, wait a minute. Doctor Who has these qualities within the show and about the character that I think are worth remembering at troubling times. And you said, is there anything you can do for me? And I said, how about you make a podcast about how Doctor Who has a lot of morality or teaches us things that we can do in life to be better. So you said, okay, let's do it together.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think we don't have to because everyone's going to have their own opinion about it. But in this country, we have the political crisis that's going on, where 52% of people in this country who voted have voted to leave the EU. And it's mainly,
which is
in my opinion,
the
European Union.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a union of, to protect each other, to back each other up, to have laws in place. You can arrest people across the borders depending on where they're moving from. And it's a single market as well, so it helps with trade. And it's been in place in this country, I think, for about 43 years, and it's created, I think, a very safe environment for this country, and a lot of diversity for this country, and export and import things to help us get along better in the economy. And unfortunately, the people who voted to leave were lied to, essentially. And a lot of it comes down to a lot of hatred of foreigners. So it's upsetting because since that, there's been a lot of hate crime to foreign people who live here. And so it's become quite obvious that it is very much about that. And when you think about Doctor Who, you think about all the people he meets in the universe. And somehow still people now can't seem to tolerate or respect people who are just slightly different from them or come from a different place.
Yeah, definitely. So there's so many, I feel like, cultural messages that Doctor Who has. And I mean, I've seen the memes too all the time, just kind of like between the differences between even like American like superheroes who have all these, powers to, basically obliterate the enemy. And then the British have the Doctor, whose way is, thinking and talking their way out of situations. And honestly, there's plenty of obliteration, but it's usually at the at the hand of, spinning it over on the hand of the person who's trying to do harm.
Yeah. I mean, when I thought about what we could talk about in terms of what does Doctor Who teach us in order to be better.
Yeah.
At first I was like, well, it's tolerance, it's respect, and it's all quite obvious on the surface. But once I started thinking about it, there are so many things that the Doctor Who teaches us, universal and timeless teachings, I think, once I started looking at it. And I even asked my children, I didn't tell them why I was asking them, but I asked my children, what does Doctor Who teach them? And the one that's more outspoken had more answers. And he said that it teaches respect to other people, and it teaches about teamwork. And he said that the Doctor uses his cleverness to help people. And he didn't even take him that long to think about these answers. He immediately felt that.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think it's because each episode will have at least one of these things that we'll talk about in this. It will have at least one of those qualities that the show has scattered in. And it can be very obvious or it can be very subtle. So it has it all the time as a theme and a thread within it to try and improve people or see it from a different perspective. And for children to see it so easily, that's important as well. And for it to be in every episode, I think is good, because we need repeated reminders of how to be better people, because we can forget, or we just get distracted, or we get drowned in our own anger. So for it to always every week have some sort of, and it doesn't have to be a heavy message so that it's too much, some people don't like being told how to be, but I don't think that Doctor Who does that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely like kind of teaches by example, and there's so many speeches that the Doctor gives that I think is huge. My mind, instantly when we were talking about this, went to, it's one of my probably like least favorite episodes of the season, of that particular season, but the Silurian episode and Matt Smith's in season 5.
I immediately thought of that too. Yeah,
where
he was so excited that they were Amy and the Silurian were going to come together and cooperate. Yeah,
just like, and saying like, we have to be the best of humanity. The best of humanity needs to be in this room right now. Yeah, even with the Silurian like challenging the humans and stuff, and of course that failed. But just it's a constant thing. And even though it seems like there's a lot of instances where humanity ends up falling or failing at that, the Doctor's constantly going back and having faith that it will turn out okay, which is another big important thing too, where it's, even though something like this can happen, it's not completely over. Humanity isn't lost. Yeah,
and you just keep trying and keep trying.
Yeah.
It's persistence. And he's aware of our imperfectness. It's okay with him. He forgives us.
Yes.
And he still tries to make us see what we could be capable of. So essentially he has idealistic notions, but he's a realist. So he knows that there will be harmful people and there'll be problematic people, and human beings might do the wrong thing. Like in Hungry Earth and is it Cold Blood? What is it called?
Yeah, Cold Blood, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say like the Cold Earth and Hungry Blood. I don't know.
Yeah. in
Yeah.
that, obviously, it does fall apart because of fear and anger and revenge.
Yeah.
And so it show you. So in that moment, if you're a child watching it, you're just going, "Yeah, great! They're gonna get together and they're gonna talk about things and come to agreements." And then they're like, "Oh no, it didn't because someone got overcome by fear and anger." So it shows how much you can ruin with that. How easy it is to sit down with someone and actually just talk about things, but how easy it can all fall apart as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a crazy, crazy thing to think that this is how much fear can take over.
Yeah,
Like fear taking
yeah,
over people. And
yeah, and that's what's essentially happened a lot in the politics of the UK and the US now. It seems that they are feeding on our basic fears,
oh yeah,
and you can't do that. You just, as a person, as to yourself, you have to let that go. You have to. You can be frightened, but you still got to do the right thing anyway. And Doctor Who certainly does teach that fear doesn't, though it's natural. You shouldn't be run by it.
yes. I was also thinking of within the most recent series, the one that we've praised and praised again, the Zygon inversion. We have people who realize that there are these Zygons, running around. The Zygons don't want the people to know about them because they know that people are going to act in fear. And then you got this, the one rogue Zygon that's like, oh yeah, well, we'll be known to everybody. Like this crazy, crazy stuff happening. Ultimately wanting war.
Yeah.
And then the Doctor has that beautiful speech at the end about wars. So
yeah.
Now, I guess that's not probably like the perfect parallel because it's talking about, people covering up and I guess in some way matching what the status quo of humanity is. But it's also kind of addressing that there is this explosiveness within humanity where we see different, different beings, or we see, these certain differences in people, and then there is fear and anger and violence ultimately that will come out of that. So
yeah, and I think if you just think of every time of how the Doctor meets people, he's always friendly and chirpy, funny and open, and
friendly and chirpy.
Yeah. And when you watch it, it kind of, you think, I wish I could, because we're naturally judgmental anyway. It's part of us. But obviously it's a problem when it becomes harmful or negative. And when you watch him, you kind of think, next time I meet someone, I could be open and friendly like he is. And it rubs off on you. And I think, in a way, because the companion is supposed to be someone who we relate to, the companion can sometimes, like if they first see an Ood, they'll be like, oh, God,
Yeah.
They immediately are repulsed by it. And yet he's kind of not. Obviously, after a few times of seeing them, he gets used to it. But they see the way he reacts positively to new people or to new life forms or weird looking things. And they're like, oh, okay, he's okay with it. That means it's fine. So we as the audience learn from that. It just rubs off on us. And it's something we have to keep remembering that, we're different, but we're the same. The same as the Doctor. Because he's the outsider, it's acceptable to us that he reacts differently. But essentially, he shows how similar he is to us because he still has fears and anger, and he gets lonely and depressed.
Yeah.
And we can immediately relate to him when he starts doing that. But he picks himself up, and he keeps going on. He carries on. And if you can see the person you look up to, like your idol or your hero, if you can see them get low and get really sad, you think, oh, okay, it's so everyone gets sad then. So you start relating to him, and then once you see him treat people with openness and friendliness, you think, oh, okay, he's just like me, so I can do that too.
Right, right. Yeah, one of the things that I've always enjoyed in the series was I think it's New Earth, New Earth, and they go to the cat hospital, or the hospital run by the Sisterhood of Cats, or I can never remember what they're called, but
I can't either.
yes, the cat nurses people,
Yeah.
and Rose was like, "Oh my gosh, look at them, they're weird." And the doctor is like, "Oh, well, think about how you looked at them, all yellow and pink."
Exactly.
So, I mean, it is that kind of stance of taking a look back at how you look to people, and of course, in that instance, we're used to thinking, and of course, from Rose's point of view, it's like everybody looks like me, and everybody who doesn't look like me is an alien. And there's many times in Doctor Who where people have that thought, and they say, "Look, it's an alien." It's like, well, no, you're on another planet. You're the alien.
Yeah, exactly.
I flipped it on you. Flip the script.
Yeah, so it becomes about perspectives, doesn't it? And you have to take yourself out of your little bubble in your world and go, well, how do they feel?
Yeah,
looking at you. Yeah. It's these themes that when you put them in a TV show and it's handled quite lightheartedly in Doctor Who as well, that it's easier to take as well. Like these are important things and they can be dramatic.
Yeah.
But when it's on the Doctor Who, it's for family and it's for children to understand most of the time. So it's good that it's always approached almost in every episode about how you should react when you see people who are different from you.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like in a time like now where it seems like we're getting more and more of that, more and more of these issues. These social issues of of people kind of being xenophobic, and it's not like it has ever gone away, but
no,
I think
exactly.
I think that right now because there's been so many big movements, it's really kind of coming to the surface.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by having to be reminded. When you have to, if you're not reminded enough about how you should be respectful to people, then you will forget. You will ultimately start listening to the other side and just drift back into the past of how we used to, when it was much stronger in the past, where we were quite prejudiced and there were a lot of problems, obviously wars created from such things. And it's like you're not learning from them. So you've got to constantly be reminded about it. And maybe because Doctor Who isn't on, that we're forgetting about it.
I know. Oh my gosh, Moffat, see what you're doing?
Yeah, so his fault. And the thing is that whenever I think about the Doctor as a character, he just reminds me of a child. And they always say that children are just immediately, they don't see colour. They don't see anything that we as adults see when we meet a new person. They're quite friendly and open and happy, and they're honest. And the Doctor is very much like that. And it's that going back to trying to be like a child again. It's not necessarily trying to be naive. It's just when you're a child, you just don't see these differences. They don't matter to you. They're not a threat. He's ultimately just he's unthreatening in himself. If you think about the way he dresses, he's almost a comedy clown in some ways, and yet he's also an eclectic dresser. He has, a combination of different ages, different cultures in one style. Yeah. And it always looks a bit funny, but it means it's very unthreatening to people. Even though he's clever and he's done loads of things and he's been in wars and he fights, the way he dresses does represent that childishness, and the collection of everything that's around him. The combination of, well, if you just look at the 11th Doctor, you've got like an old-fashioned bow tie, and then you've got skinny jeans, and then the blazer, and then the boots. So it's different ages, and then you've got more exotic clothes than some of the other ones. So,
right. And I mean, I've always loved of course, with the 10th Doctor, which is very like businessy and like looking sharp, but then you got the tennis shoes, or I guess you wouldn't refer to them as tennis shoes.
I think they're just trainers.
The trainers, yes.
Or they could be skate shoes, but
skate shoes.
We just basically call them trainers.
Trainers, yes.
Which are sneakers to you guys.
Yeah, sneakers or Chucks. We call them Chucks.
Chucks.
Those particular ones, because those are Converse with the Chuck Taylor Converse.
Yeah.
So we refer to them as Chucks.
Okay.
Over here in the US of I.
I didn't know that. I've learned that one.
Oh, yeah. But it's just that idea of like very sharp, very, like bringing the business, and then they get a little bit of fun though. Just so you know.
Yeah. Because
enough fun.
Because maybe we take things too seriously. If we all just didn't take things very seriously, but even though these are very serious things, you can approach them in a jokey way,
right?
Which just diffuses the situation. It doesn't inflame it.
No, yeah. Definitely.
So that's what he's capable of. But we as humans obviously get so upset and so angry that we just can't get out of it. We can't see it. But he can be calm and funny, and he can see it all out of the box.
Right.
I think it also, the way he dresses, it will also shows people that it's okay to be different. You can kind of dress how you want, and it doesn't really matter. And if you want to be a bit weird, it's okay. So it does show people, if they're scared of looking different or having different tastes, to not be so worried about it, because he does it. It's okay.
And actually, I've heard a lot. One of the big complaints, one of the pre-Doctor complaints, one thing that I read was somebody saying how they're going to miss the Doctor, how that, like the Matt Smith Doctor, that Doctor taught them how to be weird, and it's cool to be weird, or and to like really embrace that, which I always think is important. Embrace the the differentness. So that's another huge theme I see in Doctor Who, where just really embracing differences.
That is the thing, isn't it? That's what we're lacking in doing sometimes. That's the problem we're having. Where, if you see tolerance in a negative way, it's just like, oh, okay, I tolerate that person being in this country or whatever. But embracing it is far deeper, far stronger. And integrating works better than just going, oh, it's okay they're here. Actually embracing it and being curious and being inspired by new people coming and their cultures and their dress and everything. That's way more important.
Yeah, very important.
Yeah, and and the way that the Doctor Who show changes all the time is a lesson in that we as human beings on the Earth will always be growing and evolving and moving forward. You can't really go backwards. If you do, it's kind of shouldn't really go backwards because we didn't learn anything from it. Perhaps if we're going back there, having a new doctor, having a new companion, that is teaching people about how eventually things have to change and you have to embrace that change. You have to adjust with it.
Right.
And, if you don't, you're just going to constantly be complaining about the past, about how it was great in the past. And that doesn't work in life. You can't constantly hold on to nostalgia and hold on to the past. You just won't go anywhere.
You also kind of forget about the bad things that happened in the past. When you, wasn't the past so good? And it's like, I think you're remembering all the good stuff. There's also a lot of not so great stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. That's come up in some of the discussions I've had about this EU vote where people are going, I want to go back to the way Britain was before. And you're kind of like, well, take off your rose-tinted glasses for a second, because the way we were before wasn't particularly amazing. You can't think that it was 100% much better. And in a sense, you feel like you're going back to the medieval times, doing what we're doing now. And it's just not right. It's not good. As a country, we've grown and matured and moved on because of other cultures coming in and just being more of a one world, really. The borders go down and we all just see other people coming in and we go to other people and we all experience different countries. And that is much better than closing up and going, no, I don't want to see any different people. Which is kind of how things were in the past, where, especially if you couldn't travel very far, you didn't know about other cultures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're definitely right about how people look at the past and only remember the good stuff.
Yeah, like the day-to-day stuff that you kind of mess up, or that you kind of mess with, and the issues that you kind of encountered there, due to other bigger things that were going on, I think kind of slip away when you're just when it's the rose tinted glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I think also by the Doctor having he always has a companion, and that does teach us about how we need friends. And that all sounds very basic, but when he's alone, he's not the best version of himself. He gets angry and depressed. He just shuts himself in his TARDIS or just goes around doing whatever he wants, doesn't have to answer to anyone. Whereas when you have people around you, they keep you in check, or they check up on you, make sure you're okay, like you did with me. And that's what being a friend is. And that's why it's important. He always has a companion with him. That's why people say you shouldn't be alone. And it's essentially no one should be alone. And then when we are alone, if we are stuck in our house, isolated from everyone, and especially if you're watching the TV and you're not really seeing the world out there, you can get really low and very angry and start hating on people. So it does demonstrate very clearly about how friends, you want to share things with your friends. Like, he wants to go around the universe looking at everything, but he wants to do it with someone else, because when you do it with someone else, it's better. It just means more.
Yeah.
When you go on holiday by yourself, it's great. You can do what you want, but sharing it with someone is far better.
Oh yeah, just the experience of, like you experiencing them and then watching them experience things, and then it's kind of like an experience that you both have. There's a lot of
Yeah.
experiencing.
Yeah. And it's, there's moments like in the Town of Mercy where I haven't seen the episode for a while, but he wants to shoot, I can't remember the he he wants to shoot the is it the oh, I can't even remember what you call them.
Oh,
You'll know.
he wants to shoot the. Are you talking about the
When he grabs the gun and he's so ready to shoot at
that guy, the guy who is basically running away from this planet because of all the crimes.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, the guy, yeah. I can't remember what he's called
yeah.
though.
I don't remember what he's called either.
But anyway, yeah, he
I don't remember
really
a lot of
angry.
things. I remember that there's a really bad CGI effect in there at the end. Yes.
Yeah, he's just. I mean, he's really angry.
Yeah.
He's upset by what this person's done, and naturally, he's reacting impulsively. And it takes Amy to go, "You can't do this. That's not who you are." And that's what having someone with you just to keep you in check, to make sure you do the right thing. That's why it's important. Even myself, in what's happened this week in this country, I've had my husband keep me in check.
Yeah.
It's way too easy to get really angry at people, especially online, and start swearing and being rude. And he did the same. And then he said he apologized to this person, and I said, "Oh, okay, I should apologize too." That he's keeping me in check, and it's really important. And that's just growth. That's just improving yourself. To go, hey, I was wrong to do that, and I'm going to say I'm wrong.
I mean, that's huge. That's a huge, huge thing to be humble like that, where even though you still don't agree with the person, to apologize and say like, "Oh, I shouldn't have expressed my feelings in this way."
Yeah.
I mean, I know it happens so much on the internet.
Yeah.
And people will shut other people out because of it, or there's like a lot of unfriending. And I mean, in regards to that, I feel like, you know what? Ultimately, social media and all that is absolutely what you want it to be. Like, if you want to see, like, if you don't want to see certain posts, you don't need to. I mean, you could cut certain people out or unfollow them or do whatever, or and you can be able to say whatever you want to if that's what you want to use it for. But yeah, just remembering that there is another person on the other end of that, I feel is very lost now. So going back and apologizing or just making sure that things are still good between you and another person is so big, especially right now, and it seems like things are kind of falling apart.
Yeah, it's important to remember that. I think nowadays. I think we feel immense guilt at not being perfect, and it's just not possible to always do the right thing or say the right thing. And you're going to feel anger and you're going to be upset, and it's important to recognize that and be aware that that's going to happen rather than feeling shame.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you can get past it and go, yeah, you know what? I was wrong. I'm sorry. Shouldn't have done that. And yeah, in Doctor Who, he knows we're not perfect. It's okay. Like when River Song, he says to her, "You will always and completely be forgiven." I think when obviously she kind of shot him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But he forgives her. he understands the process and how it all happened.
Yeah.
He doesn't shut her out. He doesn't punish her. It's really about it, which is a quite a big thing if you think about it. And I do remember in the first Doctor, I think he blames Barbara and Ian for something going wrong with the TARDIS, even though he's not very great at operating it.
Yeah.
But I think he accuses them of sabotaging it. And then he realizes...
You sabotage this? Hmm?
Yeah.
That's my first Doctor impression.
Very good.
He sounds like somebody from like a 20s film or something.
Yeah. He realizes they didn't, and then he apologizes and says he was wrong for accusing them. And I think he says, I might have written it down, but he said, as we learn about each other, we learn about ourselves. So that's a really good quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
That even if we're disagreeing with someone and we're learning their point of view, or we're learning how they react to how we're behaving, that's good. And then we're learning about ourselves in the same time, and how better we could react again in the situation if it comes up again with someone else or the same person.
Yeah. It seems like there's so many good lessons that, and I didn't even really catch, because I was thinking like, okay, when we're going into this, how what are we gonna do? What are like some parallels that we could grab, or like how can we like contrast what's going on with the show with events. And right now I'm just hearing all of these really good themes, and they're not any themes that were like bashed over our heads.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of always been what Doctor Who has been about, like at the core.
Yeah, it's just naturally there, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I think it so easily reminds us of being better people.
Right, yeah. It's really good. So I'm really glad that there is a show like that, with these values.
Yeah, it's for a British show on our little island. It has some very strong little lessons for everyone. That we all, religion and parents all try to teach us it as positively as possible.
Yeah.
And if a TV show can also teach it, then great, because that's what fiction, that's what art does. It tries to show us things in a different way. And I think Doctor Who achieves that. I don't know how conscious they are that they're doing it. I would imagine they are on some level, but and that's the thing about it, is even if some episodes are a bit hokey, a bit rubbish, even like Cold Earth, Cold Blood, Hungry Earth.
Yes.
I
did it to you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's not the most amazing episode, but I remember seeing it, and it was one of the first episodes I think I really sat down and watched of all of them for the first time ever of the whole show. And those themes that we talked about were what really attracted me to the show. I was like, oh wow, it's some sort of sci-fi family British slightly dodgy sets. But it's got this at its core. It's got a really important message. It's got some really important teachings to take away from it.
Yeah.
And even just when I was thinking about all the stuff that Doctor Who teaches, I felt better.
Yeah.
I hadn't felt better for quite a long time since everything happened. And just remembering the fun of Doctor Who and what it does try to do to make us better people, I immediately felt a lot better. And you kind of, if you keep that close to you, just remembering what it does, then it could help you through troubling times.
Yeah. really is amazing, and it really is great to have something that can really lift spirits up. And I'm glad that Doctor Who's doing that to you. I'm glad that. I mean, again, as far as like a silly little show, and not just the fact of a reflection of, oh, Doctor Who, this is how great the show it is. I mean, it's something. It is a piece of art, and art can do this. And I don't know what. Well, we kind of have an idea of what the original intent of it was. It was a show to teach kids things, whether it was like history or science or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it was probably more history than anything.
Well, apparently it was meant to be both. One episode was the history, and then one episode was the science, and then it was going to go back to history and then go to science. It was supposed to go back and forth like that. Because
the science in Doctor Who has never been amazing.
Yeah.
But
well, it opens your mind a little bit.
It opens your mind. Yeah, it does.
Be. Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. But
yeah, what would happen if this happened, kind of thing.
I mean, it was Back to the Future, the animated series. They taught you how to power an alarm clock with a lemon.
They had a Back to the Future animated series.
Oh, yeah.
Why do I not know this?
I don't know. Maybe because it was on for like 1 or 2 seasons. And
when was this?
This came after Back to the Future Part 3.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned something else.
I've learned another thing.
I've learned Chucks, and I've learned that there was an animated series of Back to the Future.
Oh, yeah.
Well, going back to what we were talking about.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about Doctor Who, weren't we?
Yeah. I think a very heartwarming exchange that happened on the Doctor's Wife episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously the end is really sad, but I watched the episode as it's a near perfect episode to me. And whenever I see it, there's always the same conversation that happens in it that always just gets me every time. When he says, they're bickering and he says, "You never took me where I wanted to go." And she says, I always took you where you needed to go. And it's the reason why that I think has such an impact on me is when I think about it, on the surface, it seems like you think, oh, well, the TARDIS must be some real fancy artificial intelligence it's beyond a machine that just travels under his operation. Yeah. But it's like by fate or by the brilliance of it, it's guiding him to where he needs to go. But also, I think it always reminds me of how it is to be a parent. And then it also reminds me of what some people might think God is like, in that God will guide you to what you actually need rather than what you want. Because when you pray, a lot of people say, well, he doesn't always give you what you keep asking for. He just gives you what you need. And like a parent, you sometimes, like the Doctor almost says it like a child to the TARDIS. You didn't take me where I wanted to go.
Yeah, definitely.
And like a child might say if they were young, or maybe in hindsight when they're looking back and they're an adult and they're like, "Oh, you didn't take me where I wanted to go," like every time. And the parent would go, "No, but I did what I had to do instead. I did what you needed, and that's more important." And it's just a form of responsibility, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's about saying, yeah, you can't always get what you want. You've got to do what you need to do instead. And you've got to accept that. You can't be entitled to always go everywhere you want to go.
Yeah. I think, definitely with that episode, with the Doctor's Wife, when the TARDIS, or
Idris.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saying, I didn't take you where you wanted to go. But I took you to where you needed to be. And it's just like that. That is pretty powerful. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reason why he needs to be in these certain places, and
Mm.
that also, I think, kind of clears up a lot of back business of
Yeah.
how come the doctor's not here right now? The doctor's always gone. It's like, well, maybe there's worse situations somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you watch Children of Earth, there's that whole thing of, where is the doctor now? This doctor that Jack is always talking about. How come he's not here to save us? And it's like, oh well, maybe there's a planet that's a little bit worse off right now. There's a worse situation in time there. And then sometimes it could, it is the doctor going around going, I want to be somewhere else right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing. It reminds what you're just saying about him wanting to be somewhere else. Sometimes you get this perspective that he runs away a lot.
Yeah.
But if you look at it in a different way, he does. I don't think he wants to always just avoid things. He does demonstrate that it's good to actually take a break from things.
Yeah.
And it's important. Like, if you overthink and you ruminate over something, it doesn't actually help. You've got to step away, go somewhere else, do something else, go on holiday, take a break. And he does that a lot as well, which is he's not. So he just knows that he's got to actually just get away. Maybe he'll think better when he gets back, or he'll be better when he gets back.
Yeah.
It's okay to have that break. Whereas I think a lot of the time we think, oh no, we've got to sort this out now. We've got to be productive right now. We've got to really hammer through on this. But you don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to all the time.
Right. Yeah, it's very, very important to take breaks.
Yeah.
So, which is, what landed me in my little issue of medical issues and stuff. But now that I'm back, hopefully more podcasts can happen.
Yeah.
I've been off way too long.
Yes.
Cool. Well, we should probably wrap up since we're getting to time here. But,
yeah.
It was so wonderful talking with you, Claudine.
Thank you.
So how are you doing? Are things going okay, manageable over?
Yeah. Things have calmed down a bit now. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still it's the beginning of the end. No. No, we're not going to know the full repercussions of everything that's happening immediately. So you kind of have to hope it won't be as bad as you think it will be, but it probably will be worse along the way. I'm trying to go to a march in London this weekend to stand up against what's going on. So yeah, it's like when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You gotta just get up and you gotta go, right, got to do the best I can do right now.
Yeah. Definitely. It's great.
And you're recovered now?
I'm recovered. Actually, and one thing I was thinking about, there was that moment where, speaking of the kettle of fish that the U.S. is stepping into right now. So Donald Trump recently visited Scotland.
Yeah.
And got Scotland confused with England.
Yes.
And basically tweeted the thing about, oh yeah, they're, look how they voted, they're taking their land back and they're taking their country back, and then all the lovely people of Scotland tweeting back at Trump all the vulgar things. And then David Tennant went on Full Frontal with Samantha Bee and read all the tweets. Or read all the tweets.
I saw that. Yeah.
Which Unfortunately, we can't play on here because this podcast is rated E for everyone. But I might put a link of it up there or something, because otherwise we'd have to censor it and it wouldn't really have that same impact. So
I mean, Scotland is still part of Britain, so essentially it was as if Britain voted to leave, but people know the majority of what different counties and regions voted in, and they had a majority of wanting to stay. So yeah, he didn't really know that, or he chose to ignore that. I don't know, and it obviously offended them.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, he's not the sharpest tool, and he says the wrong things a lot.
He does. He does. We've definitely broken some ground, some new ground on this podcast.
Yeah. And there's a lot of Doctor Who people who are very upset by what's going on. They've made it very clear as well. Yeah. Neil Gaiman and James Corden and Arthur Darvill and Karen Gillan, David Tennant. They're all very vocal. They're upset about this. Yeah.
Well, also, I was just kind of thinking about, what's it going to be like? How is this going to affect the show and all that? I mean, this is more of like on a smaller level. But you even said, the pound has dropped off.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is today, but immediately it dropped very low. And it probably won't be that great now if we definitely leave.
Yeah.
And then you do remember that, like Doctor Who filmed overseas a few episodes in season 5. And that could be, if they ever wanted to do that again, that could be a restriction. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it doesn't leave you a lot of options, unfortunately, this result.
Yes.
Which is not what we need.
Exactly. So,
and then there's obviously the risk that Scotland want to be independent from England. If we definitely exit the EU, they don't want to. So their way out, perhaps, would be to become independent and then become a member of the EU themselves.
Yes.
So we wouldn't be United Kingdom anymore.
Right. It would just be England, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
Yeah, but then there's also Ireland are very much like Scotland upset, and they would perhaps want to break free as well. Yeah. So, yeah, you wouldn't. It would be very strange if all that happened. Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Well, hang in there.
Times.
I hope
Thank you.
I hope you have a great time at your. Well, I mean, it's not like necessarily a fun thing, but I mean, I hope that you have a good, positive experience at your march.
Yes, thank you. I'm trying to do it. I've got other things I should be doing, but I want to do it. So hopefully it will happen.
Good.
I was alerted by the lady who plays Mary in Sherlock, actually, so she might be actually doing it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so it might be a big thing. You got to get your voice heard now.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, I hope that there's some window or whatever that they can get back on track and do what needs to be done for the best of the UK and the people. So
yeah.
Yes, awesome. Well, I guess with that, we can go ahead and end it there. Claudine, is there any way that people can get a hold of you? Or that you want people to get a hold of you?
Not sure they want to hear what I have to say, but I am on Twitter. This is a recent thing.
Nice.
What am I on Twitter? I believe I am Dogmatic Claudine on Twitter.
Dogmatic Claudine
and that's 2 G's.
2 G's.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, You can also check me out on Twitter at TurkeyDog, which is also 2Gs.
Yeah.
So that just makes me and Claudine sitting here doing a podcast, just 2Gs.
2Gs.
Talking about the genus. Yes.
2Gs is better than 1.
Oh, yeah. That was dumb. Okay. You can also follow this podcast at AOT Podcast on Twitter. And then you can email us at arrowoftimepodcast@gmail.com. And also go to aotpodcast.com for all of your Arrow of Time needs. You can follow us on, check us out on Stitcher and iTunes. And if you want to leave a message, rate us, that would be super, super helpful. Because that lets us know what you think and lets everybody else know what you think. And, I mean, that's what all of this is about, right? Letting everybody know what they think. If you want to chime in and if you have any opinions about what we're talking about, I'm sure you do. Go ahead and email us or tweet us, or you could even leave a comment right on our website that we can engage with you with. Yes. Cool. Well, for this episode of The Arrow of Time, I have been Matt.
And I've been Claudine.
And this has been The Arrow of Time and a half. I think that we made it easy. We made it easy, Claudine.
Yay!
Yay!
We're pros.
We're pros.
And the other Arrow of Time guys, they're okay and all intact.
They're all intact as far as I know. So, yeah.
Yeah? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad.